Welcome. I am your oh so serious one, Michelle Welch.
Yo, yo, yo. I'm the not so serious one. Don't really give a damn what you think. Your host, Roger Welch, and welcome to SoulWhat podcast. So what's up today, Michelle?
Yeah, and I forgot to say, sometimes I do care a little bit too much what people think, and I am here with my husband, Roger Welch, and today we have our guest, Jay DeForest. Jay DeForest is one of the co-producers of the Northwest Tarot Symposium that this past spring, Laura Pace and myself and Erica were fortunate enough to go to, and next spring,
Yeah, they
Roger,
didn't let
you're
me
going to go?
They didn't let me
You're going to get to
go.
go next year.
Okay, next year I get to go. All right.
And he's the co-author of the Living Magic Learning Card Series, author of Behind the Fortune Teller's Tent, and a year-round professional Tarot and Rune reader. As with many people who work in the metaphysical field, Jay's life had a few interesting twists and turns along the way. Born and raised Roman Catholic and having rather high marks on college entrance exams, Jay was actively recruited by the Jesuits to become a Catholic priest and was also offered an appointment to the U.S. Naval Academy. For a variety of reasons, he turned down both of those options and pursued a career in law enforcement in San Francisco. He was promoted very quickly, and before age 30, he was an inspector, doing criminal investigation work for the district attorney. During all of that time, Jay had a very personal interest in spirituality, particularly in the more shamanic and magical paths that the Catholic Church just hinted at. He intentionally departed from Catholicism and explored Native American traditions, various aspects of Buddhism, and secular humanism before setting on a Wiccan path, which has ultimately led to his own variety of nature-based spirituality without any specific denomination. Among the tools that Jay picked up on his spiritual practice was the use of Norse runes and tarot for uses in his own personal exploration. For many years, while in his former career, those were very private aspects of his life. Later, after leaving 22 years of police work, Jay became a bit more out about his spiritual path and started offering classes in various aspects of the craft through a shop in Santa Cruz, California. A few years later, he bought a metaphysical shop in Portland, Oregon, and his work went pretty much full-time from there. Now, with his lovely wife, I might add, Jadzia, he runs Portland Fortune Tellers, doing readings for private parties, corporate events, fairs, and festivals through the greater Portland area. They also publish educational titles for those looking to learn more about various divination systems and run the Northwest Tarot Symposium, a 4-day conference each spring. Jay's newest endeavor is preparing the first annual Divination Arts Conference, DivArtsCon, coming in October 2020. Welcome to SoulWhat. How are you doing, Jay?
Wow, that's quite a mouthful. Thank you, Michelle. Hi.
Hi. Yeah, quite impressive.
Keeps me busy.
Yeah. So I wanted
no
to.
end to it. I'm sure you guys understand.
Definitely.
I wanted to, I was reading this, I started thinking about all the work you have done. I wanted to tell you that one of the very first, I don't know if it was one of the very first decks I ever bought. One of the first things I really enjoyed when I was out with my craft was this little deck right here. And I swore to the producers of this podcast that I would not pick up this and hold it, but here I am. It's the Crystals and Stones Learning Cards. And I would take it, and what I did was I took these, and I'll explain to you who are just listening. It's a deck of cards, and it has crystals on the front of the deck, and it shows you the pictures of the crystals like in a tumbled form, in a raw form. It shows a bunch of different crystals, not just, you know how some cards will just show you one picture, but it showed the stones in a whole bunch of different types of forms. Remember that, Roger?
We hole punched each card, and then we ran one of those chains through it, and she carried it everywhere with her. She ran a chain through it so she wouldn't lose any of the cards. That's how important it was to her to keep all of them together.
So we were at a pretty fancy hangout kind of place to be. It's called the Shops of Legacy in Plano, Texas. And we're sitting on a patio. And we had, by the end of, we were just sitting there eating, having a couple of drinks. By the end of being there after maybe 3 hours, we had a whole group of people around us quizzing each other on these cards, on the crystals in the cards. People we didn't even know. They were coming up and they were like, oh, let me see if I can get it. And we were going through the cards. These are wonderful learning cards. And there's just a whole bunch of different ones from anything you want to know about, as you can see, from astrology to palmistry to the runes and tarot. And I have to tell you, I just love them because it does, and on the other side of the card, it tells you about, let's say if we're talking about crystals, it tells you about the crystals and teaches you about them. So you can use them literally as flashcards to learn. I love them.
Yeah. Very cool.
So they're great. How did you come up with such a great idea? And when did you, I didn't look at the date when you started making those, but.
Well, back when we still had our store, we had people coming in all the time that were taking classes and asking, how do you remember all this stuff? How do you memorize all this stuff about astrology or about tarot or about whatever? And I used to tell them what my early teachers told me: get your few favorite books, get yourself a stack of 3x5 cards and sit there and make yourself flashcards and go through those until you just absorb this information. And as a store owner, I thought, maybe we should carry those. So I started looking and searching and could not find anybody doing anything like that. And around that same time, Jadzia and I were feeling like we didn't want to be tied to a store every day of the week, which you guys know how that goes. And so we came up with the idea, well, why don't we make these cards since nobody else is doing it? And that was in 2009. So we've been almost 10 years with this now. And we started with the astrology deck, the tarot, and Norse runes. And those went over so well to begin with that we expanded and added in the crystals and stones. We sold out the first 1,000 printing of those went in about 3 months. And then we added in the palmistry, the Kabbalah deck, what else do we have there? We've got the Lenormand deck we just added in. So there's 7 in all, but it's been kind of a gradually growing process. And we're looking at doing an herbology deck hopefully sometime soon.
Yeah, well, I think we
cool.
have all 7 out here,
Yep.
represented in our store. I think that Erica was saying today that the palmistry is sold out.
This one
If
sold
we
out.
got any, we got some in, right? We got some in and they sold out immediately, I think. And then, so they're just great. We also
I'm
have.
glad they're doing well.
Yeah, they do great. And we also have your book. And Matt, you guys, can we see it? Erica, can we see the behind the fortune teller's tent? This is, Jay, your book. Can you tell us a little bit about your book?
A few years ago, Jadzia convinced me to start doing readings for parties and events with her, because she originally was the one doing parties and events. And then she got an inquiry from a large company that wanted to have more than one reader for a holiday party. And I was like, well, we must know some people that you could contact. She says, no, you're it. It's like, well, no, there's plenty of people we know that are readers. She says, no, you're it. So she dragged me to this holiday party to do readings for 200 employees for Nike. And by the end of the evening, I was thrilled. I thought, wow, that was, I'd never done readings for people before in that large of a context, but I loved it. And so basically we started a business doing year-round readings for company events, private parties, fairs, festivals, all of that. And we've had several people come to join us as part of our co-op that we're doing these readings with. And also a lot of people ask about, how did you get going doing this? How do you run a business doing this? How do you market to people? All of those questions that go with that. And so last year I decided, well, maybe I'll put that down on paper and try to help some other people out around the country and get a bit of an opportunity to start their own business with it. So that's what Behind the Fortune Teller's Tent is all about, is basically a how-to book for building a practice doing readings at fairs and festivals. And then hopefully by Newt's next year, I'll have the companion book, which is more about just how to build a consulting reading practice, but using a lot of the same principles that are in the first one.
Oh, that would be great. Yes. And then we also have Jadzia's book, your wife, who's wonderful and so kind. Is just so, first of all, she's just beautiful and seems, seriously, she is. You married up. No, I'm kidding.
I did. I did.
No, you did. Roger married up too.
Yeah.
But tell us if you would.
High five, Roger.
I promote her book, your book too. But because a lot of people with the speech that I did at Northwest Tarot Symposium, I gave that speech at Reader Studio, and I also gave that same speech at INATS. At all of those. I just gave that speech a couple weeks ago at INATS, and I promoted her book there. And a lot of people came up and asked about her book. So could you tell us a little bit about her book, Card Deck, Book, and Box, the dry and unwitty guide to creating a great product?
Well, first of all, I want to give credit to Jadzia for all the work that she's been a part of with the Tarot Symposium, with the learning card decks, with the book. She's got just a wealth of information, and it's kind of interesting. I mean, she can sit down and write 4,000 words a day for her fiction novel writing. She can, go teach a 3-hour tarot class with no problem, but put a microphone in front of her and she becomes monosyllabic, and it's just not her cup of tea. So otherwise, she'd be here. So I want to give a shout out to her, and just the appreciation for this has definitely been a shared project all the way through. And the Card Deck, Book, and Box book, that sounds kind of redundant, but came about because when we first started doing the learning card series, see, all these things kind of fold onto each other. When we first started doing the learning card series, we knew nothing about commercial printing. We knew nothing about proper packaging. We knew as retail owners what we consider retail ready, meaning this is what we'll put on the shelf. But how to get a product from an idea to that was a whole learning curve. And she took on doing all the research about contacting printers and learning about paperweights and learning about box types and learning about inks and all of the stuff that goes into actually making a product. And made all of her notes, and then gradually, as we kind of continued on through different card decks that we were producing, those notes got refined, and ultimately it came down to, there's a group on Facebook called the Tarot Deck Creators Group, which is for people who are in the process of creating tarot decks themselves. And so she put together a rather lengthy article about a lot of that stuff. And then that kind of stepped forward to being, let's just make a book out of this that anybody can get anywhere. They will go on Amazon, contact us directly about all of those details. And so that title about it being a dry and unwitty guide is very true. There's nothing very entertaining about that book, but it's $20 that will save somebody hundreds of hours of research and some costly mistakes in producing products. And I wish we had it when we started.
Right. And really, you don't want all the witty stuff, really, when you're wanting that information. You just want somebody to tell you, how do I do it? And just shoot it. And she does. That's exactly what she does in this book. Yeah.
And, and she did the research of, contacting the people in China. Well, we don't speak Chinese. So that took a lot of work for, figuring that out. And that was kind of the idea, was that, somebody else trying to do this. And believe me, when we had our store, a lot of people with really cool ideas for decks that they would send us in a way that there was just no way we could put this on the shelf to sell it. They'd be in cute little bags, or they'd, have just any number of different things that were kind of fatal flaws to it being a successful product. Right. And so that was the idea, was to let's help other people not have to go through all of that. And not have to learn to speak Chinese or learn all of the stuff that she went through. Right. So yeah, it's if anybody, and it's not just applicable to card decks. I mean, any kind of product that somebody would want to get into a metaphysical store is going to have to meet certain levels. As you guys know, you've got stores, and there's just certain things that you won't put on the shelves, and other things you go, yeah, this is perfect.
Absolutely. Well, so you do so many things within the metaphysical realm. It's like you publish, you do entertainment, you do readings, you do it all. You put on symposiums, you put on conferences. You're coming out with a new conference. Of all the things you do, what's your favorite part of what you do, and what is your least favorite part of what you do?
I'd have to say that the favorite part is actually what we do through Portlandia Fortune Tellers, which is going and doing the readings for parties and events. Because first of all, when they're hiring us, it's not in a situation where people, if we go do a fair or a festival, people are having to pay for their readings individually. When people are hiring us to come to their event and offer readings for free for their guests, the payment part is out of the way. That's already been covered. And so basically we're able to just do readings for people without them having to make that decision about, do I want to pony up 10 or 15 or 20 bucks? But they can sit down, get a card reading, and we all the time, I can't even tell you how many times a year we hear people go, I've always been curious about this, but I've never had a chance to try it. And they get done with a reading and they're going, my God, that was amazing. I never knew that this is really what it was all about. I've all heard these, kind of horror stories, or the devils in the cards, all of those kind of things. And giving people that opportunity to sit down, do a short reading for them, introduce them to, how divination works, and be able to have them walk away feeling like they got something insightful, something inspiring, demystified it a little bit. To me, that is my favorite piece of all of it. And to get paid to do that, that's even better.
Right. What's your least favorite?
Honestly, it's still kind of linked to what we had when we had the store, that the majority, like 98% of our product sales are through our Amazon store. We have our own website, The Guiding Tree, but then it links out to the Amazon storefront. And because of the way that all works, we've got, sales deadlines we have to hit. So there's the constant staying in touch with, okay, what orders have come in? Have those orders been processed? Are those orders going back out in time? We're meeting all of our Amazon goals that we need to make. And so there still is that piece of the technical side of having to be the business operator. Right. But that's where the paycheck comes in. So that's what you got to do.
That's true. That's true. Well, you're up, Roger.
So we have a giveaway tonight.
All right.
So I thought we'd give away one of the card decks.
I'm going to hear you, though.
Oh, you're going to hear me? Wait, here, get the mic closer. So we're going to give away actually one of the card decks here. We actually have tonight. We'll do this one. You want to do this one?
Yeah, let's do that one.
Okay, so the first person on there, they can tell us what Jay's job was before. That's a mouthful. Jay's job before.
Yeah.
If you listened right in the beginning, while Michelle was talking about the bio, you'll know what Jay was doing before he came into the metaphysical world.
All right.
Okay.
It's very interesting. We're going to talk about it some more.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it in just a minute. So we're going to give everybody just 1 second to actually come up with this answer.
All right.
Hopefully they were listening. And if not, we'll just...
This is where I always want the Jeopardy... I always want Erica to sing the Jeopardy music.
What?
I don't know about that.
The dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
That's pretty good. Okay.
There's a little delay. Did anybody get it?
Not yet. It's just now
yet.
hitting in there. So, actually, okay, Jay. So we have a new part of our show tonight.
All right.
Okay.
What is it?
It's We Stalked Your Facebook.
What is it again?
It's called We Stalked Your Facebook. Da-da-da-da.
Okay.
So what we did, it's social media. If it's out there.
First of all, was it you stalking it or me?
No, actually, it was Michelle. She's a stalker.
First of all, let me just say this. If somebody posts something on Facebook, this is what I always told my kids. Because they're like, oh, somebody's stalking somebody's Facebook. There are stalkers. Let me just say there are stalkers. There are. Okay, there are. But if somebody puts something on Facebook and you look at it, you're not stalking, you're just looking. Okay, but we stalked your Facebook page.
But we did.
Okay.
That sounded really adorable, Michelle. We aren't stalking, we're just looking.
We're just stalking, we're just looking.
Holy cow, Christy. All right, so we got it.
Oh, wait, somebody got it right. They've already gotten it.
Well, she pays attention now.
All right.
She's attention to details right there. Christy, You got it right. So
Christy,
yes,
Christy wins the lovely tarot
Right
learning
here.
cards.
and she knows. And guess what? That was actually one of the things we were stalking on your Facebook. Was that you were a police officer before this? What the hell? So how in the world
Comes
did
as
you
a
tie
surprise to some
this?
people.
So how did you tie from that to here?
Well, the metaphysical practice for me started way before I left law enforcement. I had gone through a whole bunch of stuff after my falling out with the Catholic Church. And I'm not a Catholic basher. I think there's a lot of legitimate, valid purposes in their practice. But for me personally, it just the dogma stopped working. And so from there, I started exploring different things. And okay, you got time? You want to hear a funny story?
Yes.
Back in about 1986, I had gone through a rather traumatic work experience that left me a little rattled. I didn't get seriously hurt, but I could have. But it left me a little rattled, and I took a couple of days off, and I went down to Santa Cruz and decided I'm just going to kind of play Don the Beachcomber and just kind of wander up and down the coast, the beach itself for a couple hours each day. And was doing a lot of just sort of like, it's one of those experiences that sort of like makes you really kind of take stock of your life and go, wow, okay, life is really short and really fragile. And in that process, I'm walking up and down the beach, and I'm hearing, as the waves are coming up onto the sand, this kind of whoosh, whoosh sound. And what I started hearing in my mind was witchcraft. And it kind of spooked me. Because, coming from a Catholic background, coming from the traditional mainstream American suburban background, witchcraft is not exactly what you expect to hear. But I thought, okay, there's something, I'm thinking of making up like, okay, craft of the wise, whatever, all these, justifications for what I might be trying to experience with that. And so I ended up contacting a little bookstore in Santa Cruz that, little kind of metaphysical shop there, and asked, kind of sheepishly if they had any books on witchcraft. And they were like, of course we do. And so, really? Okay. So I went in there, and I was really surprised that they had like not just a couple of books, but they had like a whole shelf full of books. And I ended up picking up Scott Cunningham's Solitary Guide, what is it? The Wicca Guide for the Solitary Practitioner. And I thought the cover art was kind of cool. I think they've redone it since then. But so I took that book and I went out and sat under the redwood trees and spent the next 4 hours pretty much going through the entire book and feeling like somebody had been recording my life for the last 10 years. It all of a sudden made sense. All of the things that mattered to me were in this one little book, and it all of a sudden made sense. And gradually, I started my own practices with things. And over time, I started finding that my personal beliefs and my attachment to kind of mainstream, suburban, urban America were getting stretched. And so ultimately it came time for me to say, okay, time to move out of that. But for a long time, those two overlapped, and I was kind of walking with a foot in both worlds, which, was interesting. It was a little strange. But there you go. It's,
Right.
life's too short to do the same thing for 70 years.
Right. It is hard to kind of walk with a foot in both worlds. I've done that, and sometimes I still kind of turn back and start trying to do it again, right?
Sometimes
Yeah. I get kind of pulled back and
get a
and
phone
feel-
call and
get one phone call that'll start pulling me back into that other world, and to kind of straddle the line of where I am and getting pulled back in. But yeah,
But
difficult.
it's interesting too, because it gives me a perspective when I talk about doing readings for people at events and festivals and whatnot. I talk with a lot of people who are in a transitional point in their life, or they're feeling like life is not being that satisfying to them. They know that there's something more. They don't know how to find it. They don't know what it is.
Right.
And having gone through that whole, kind of experience for myself and needing to really transition my entire life from one way of being to a whole different mindset and a different way of being, I can relate to them. I can understand what they're going through. I can offer them encouragement and support to do that, and to let them know that it is okay. You're not a failure because you decide what you set your sights on when you were 20 is not working for you when you're in your 40s, and you need to do something different. And for a lot of people, they just really need to hear that that it's okay to quit your corporate job if that's what you're feeling the need to do. It's okay to express a different spiritual path than what you were brought up with.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. I totally agree with that.
Getting close.
Yeah. What?
Oh, I'm getting close. Doing the same
Oh,
thing.
yeah. Roger's getting close to doing the same thing. He's he's getting there.
Yes.
So you're transitioning from one thing to something new?
Yes.
Well, you're already doing something new, and you're doing a good job. What I can tell of it.
He's doing both still.
I'm just still doing both.
He's still doing both. So yeah. So we have a little bit of time to talk about the.
So the other thing we saw on there was you post the about the San Francisco Pride patches for the police officers.
One thing I wanted and one thing I wanted to just interject is that we're going this weekend to see my son and his boyfriend. We leave on Sunday?
Sunday morning. Yep.
For my birthday's on July 2nd, so we're going. I'm really excited. And Tyler told me that we'll be landing pretty much right in the middle. I think Pride starts on the 29th. We'll be landing on the 30th.
Yep.
So we thought maybe that would be a good thing to ask you about, since you worked and kind of lived through some of that and worked in San Francisco during some pretty tough times, it looked like.
Well, I'll tell you, San Francisco Pride Parade, Pride Day, is an event not to be missed. So if you have time, if you're arriving in time to get to the parade route, it's kind of like a Mardi Gras parade. I mean, it's crowded. It is huge. But it also is one of the most fun, colorful, enthusiastic events that San Francisco does all year. And it's one of the things that, obviously for a lot of people around the country, they have sort of disparaging feelings about San Francisco being so embracing of the gay and lesbian population. And I'm going to use that. Let me just say right now, when I say gay and lesbian population, I mean the whole span. It's just all of the different letters that get added after LGBT, all inclusive with that.
Right.
And it's one of the things that I actually have always been very proud of, seeing San Francisco's ability to grow and to transition. When I went into law enforcement there in the late 70s, it was a very different feeling. Harvey Milk, the supervisor in San Francisco, had been killed, and by a former police officer and firefighter. There was a huge amount of tension between the police department and the gay population. The gay community was, for good reason, very defensive, very angry. And one of the things that I was pleased to see happen in the late 70s, early 80s in San Francisco was for the city to be the first city to actively recruit gay and lesbian police officers. And that was huge.
Yes.
I remember hearing some of the old time, guys that I went in with, not that I went in with, but who were in way before me, people who came in, in the 50s, who were, talking about the good old days when they go undercover to go raid the gay bars. And so that's a huge jump from that kind of mentality to saying, we actually want to support the gay and lesbian community and bring them in, not just allow them in, but to actively recruit them in. And so the patches that you're talking about were something that just came out this year, that the Officers Association within the police department came out with the Rainbow Pride San Francisco Police shoulder patches. And so I think that's what you're talking about, that I had put an article up about that on my Facebook page, as something that is a sign of the progress that's being made and the inclusiveness that can be there if people are willing to break through their dogma, break through their stubborn attitudes, and allow there to actually be some healing and some growth. So it's something actually that I feel very good about seeing happen there.
Was the patches, are they raising money for something with those?
They are. They're selling the patches to raise money for a youth group in San Francisco, sort of challenged and at-risk youth. And, there's still, even now, there are lots and lots of kids in the United States that are at risk because of their sexual identity.
Right.
And so that's part of what's going on, is to try to build that awareness, not only of the progress that the police department has made, but also of the need that is still there to keep on pushing for that kind of awareness and that kind of healing. And so that's one of the things, that the patches are being sold publicly. So it's not just officers being able to wear them by choice on their uniforms, but that they're actually being sold as sort of a souvenir piece to help raise money for the causes like that.
That's cool. I'm gonna find one.
Yeah, well,
I'm
yeah,
gonna
I
find
think
one
that's
when I
great
get there
for
next
a
week.
great fundraiser. Erica, do we have time for a little bit of our
We do.
game? This
So-
is another part of our stalked the Facebook page.
So I have a list over here of John Denver songs. I'm going to say a couple lines.
Oh,
and
I'm
then
out.
the three of you will see who can finish that part of the song. Bonus points if you can name the name of the song.
Can you hear Erica? Oh, all right.
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, awesome. All right. Remember, I'm not singing these. I'm saying these.
Oh no.
Oh, chicken.
All right.
Okay, here we go.
In this whole world, there's nobody as lonely as she. There's nowhere to go, and there's nowhere that she'd rather be.
Fly away.
That's the name of the
something-
song, yeah? Do you know
Oh.
the next part?
Do you know the next part? I don't.
I'm hearing it in my head. Nope, but I can't think what the words are.
She's
But I hear it.
looking
I
for
hear the
lovers
melody.
and children playing is the next line.
She's looking for lovers and children playing.
All right, point for Jay. All right,
Point for Jay.
here's the next
Here,
one.
I'm making a prediction on my points now.
Wait, hold up your prediction. Hold up your prediction.
Got my prediction right here on this one. Can I pick songs next time we do this?
Roger's
What
not
the
John
hell?
Denver. I want you guys to know something. My daughter's 20, and her song with her boyfriend, their song is Annie's song. That's their song. She goes to UT Austin, and they're all into John Denver there. So he's a thing. All right, we're ready.
All right. It's cold here in the city. It always seems that way. And I've been thinking about you almost every day.
I know this one. You've got to sing it for me to know it.
Thinking about the good times, thinking about the rain, thinking about how bad it feels alone again.
Did you just give it away? Is that the answer?
No.
Oh. I know this one. Do you know it, Jay?
Again, I'm in the same boat as Michelle. If I hear the music to it,
Say it
like
again.
sing
Say it
faster.
again. Say it like
All right.
rhythmically.
I don't know this song.
Like with rhythm.
You want me to do that? I can.
No.
I can sing it.
Don't sing it.
All right.
I use my voice I sing with.
It's cold here in the city. It always seems that way. And I've been thinking about you almost every day.
Ain't it good to
Thinking
be
about the good times, thinking about the rain, is it?
Uh-huh.
Thinking about how glad it feels to be home again, or something
yeah,
like that.
home
That was
again. Like,
close.
ain't
That
it
was
good to be back home again? Something like
So,
that.
yeah,
Does
so
it have the word
Is
ain't
it
in it?
back home again?
Home, yeah.
It's I'm sorry.
Huh? What's the name of the song?
I'm sorry.
That's it?
It's interesting. He had a few songs where he apologized about being on the road so much.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh.
We'll do 2 more. All right.
Do one I know.
Well, I don't know which ones these are.
Read my mind.
All right. You fill up my senses like a night in a forest, like the mountains in springtime, like a walk in the rain.
Like a sun in the desert, like a sleepy blue ocean.
Yeah, that's close. Like a storm in the desert.
Oh, like
yeah.
a storm in the desert, like
Do you
a
know-
sleepy blue ocean, like a something.
You fill up my
Come fill me
senses.
again.
Yeah. Name of the song?
Is that Annie's song?
Yeah.
We're tied.
All right, last one. All right. There's all the news to tell him. How did you spend your time? And what's the
That's
latest?
back home again.
Yes.
Ding, ding, ding. You win.
Good job. Jay's the winner. Close
Oh,
second, Michelle.
I know. And I do. I'm the same way. You didn't do Grandma's Feather Bed. Do you remember that song?
What the hell's that?
You don't know that song?
Hell no.
It's a happy song. It's
I
like an
Googled
uplift.
popular songs and
Huh?
it took those.
Yep.
I just Googled
When I was a
popular
little bitty
songs.
boy just up off the floor,
Yeah.
we used to go down to Grandma's house
All
every
right,
month end or
fine.
so.
Tomorrow,
Yes.
tomorrow when I'm riding
Grandma
around town,
Feathers- Grandma's
I'll
Feather Bed.
Spotify John Denver songs, and I'll listen to.
He
them
was
for y'all.
pretty amazing, actually. He really was.
Down that country road.
Yeah, country.
I was
road.
really looking forward to seeing. I mean, there's one of the songs of his called "Poems, Prayers, and Promises" where he actually talks about it turns me on to think of growing old, and I was really looking forward to seeing what he would continue to do with his songwriting career as he, reached his senior years. And I was just devastated when he died. It was, that was a really tough one because there's somebody with a lot of heart, a lot of talent, and yes, a lot of people say, "Oh, the stuff was so corny," but if you listen to what's being said there's just a lot of deep sentiment in those
That's
songs.
what I think, and it was always, it was uplifting. I mean, it's like, okay, so corny's, it's uplifting and happy and things about nature and happiness are corny, I guess, and that's kind of sad. That's a sad statement on that. He was, he was a good
Rocky
man.
Mountain High was a Saturn Return song. Born in the summer of my 27th year, coming home to a place I'd never been before.
Yeah, I love
that. Was Saturn Return before I even knew what a Saturn Return was.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, do we have time for a few readings?
We do. So we'll go ahead and open it up. We can do specific questions or general. We'll do them lightning round.
So we're going to do lightning round. What we mean by that when we say lightning round is we're just going to do kind of a quick fire. These are not deep readings. Jay does readings. We do readings, deeper readings. If you want to contact Jay, do you do phone readings?
I do some phone readings. Okay. Actually, for this we were talking about before. I think I want to use rune cards for these, just to do something different, since you guys are doing tarot, I believe.
Okay, so I'm actually gonna use a tarot.
Do you have a preferred cards that you read? Do you read runes? What do you prefer?
I mean, doing the events that we do, and it's literally hundreds of readings a year. I use Rider-Waite-Smith deck for that, primarily because if somebody has any familiarity with tarot at all, odds are that's going to be the imagery they're familiar with. Correct. And so, again, trying to keep it very approachable to people, demystifying it. So I use that deck for, that kind of outreach purpose. And then I always offer the people the choice between doing cards or doing rune stones. And I have a set of runes that I made about 30 years ago, which are holding up amazingly well. Awesome. They probably don't show up very much on camera there. Where is that thing?
We can see them.
Somewhere. There's
what are they made of?
And these were made of clay, actually.
Clay.
And
very cool.
There we go. And so they were made with clay, and they were baked, and then they were soaked in coffee for giving some definition to them. So I use these for doing public readings. But for something like this today, I was thinking about just kind of using the rune flashcard set, because they are a lot more visible. So.
And that's from the rune reading cards that they make from their publishing company, Living Magic Learning Card Series, which we do have at Soultopia. We have runes at Soultopia.
Yeah,
yes, we do. And they're also available on Amazon, but come into Soultopia to get them if you live around here. Or you can get them online through Soultopia. Okay, and Roger, you're reading with, let's say it quickly so we can get to our cards.
I've got the Radiant Wise Spirit Tarot.
We just picked those up. Actually, I asked for them from Llewellyn, and they gave them to me. Yeah. I was like, I want those, and they gave me a deck. And then I'm reading from the Bianco Nero Tarot, and maybe, Jay, you can help me pronounce the last name. It's Marco Proieto?
Which one is that?
Bianco Nero. It's
Not
very
true.
Bianco Nero. It's very true to the Rider-Waite, but the guy's last name is Marco
Prieto.
Prieto. That's how we're going to say it. Sounds very Italian. All right, here we go. Who are we reading for?
So we're going to first do a general reading for Laura.
Okay, so we're doing a general reading for Laura. I'm going to move this over here. Oh, and I'm also going to use one charm from Carrie Paris's Milagro Oracle that we also have here
that's our new one.
It's her newest one of her newer ones that we have here at Soultopia. All right, so lightning round. Do you want to go first, Roger?
No, go ahead.
Well, I haven't even drawn yet.
Oh, you haven't even drawn yet?
I'm just going to draw one, and all right. Okay, so what I'm getting right away, I'll start. I'm getting just take a big breath on before you decide on this is pretty specific, a purchase that's coming up. Take a breath before you decide whether or not you're going to take a pause before you're going to leap into that purchase. You tend to know intuitively whether or not to make these purchases, but this one is different, and don't be impulsive on this particular endeavor. Jay, you want to go next?
Okay. Well, I got the rune for the horse.
Okay.
And there are a lot of the runes have got two different counterparts to them. There's one for the cart and there's one for the horse. And to me, the main difference is carts have wheels. So they want to do things in a way that is stable, tried and true. They want to stay on the path. The horse, on the other hand, allows you to have the freedom and the flexibility to follow wherever the path may lead or may not lead. The horse has feet. They can go off the path. They can go down the stream. They can go up the hill where they need to do. So in whatever circumstances that are coming up right now, be willing to think outside the box, be willing to look at other pathways to get to the goal that you're seeking, and not necessarily be tied to having to do it the same way that you've always done it or the same way other people would do it.
Very good.
So when I pulled the cards, I actually meant to just pull one card. And the card when I pulled it, two came out. And it was Queen of Pentacles sitting in behind the Nine of Wands. I'll set them here. That way you can see those, Erica. But I kind of took it, the Queen of Pentacles is kind of where you used to be. Kind of, you were kind of in charge. You were, you had your kind of everything in order, everything ready to go. But then all of a sudden now you probably feel more like, challenges are here and there. You're kind of maybe even feeling a little stressed, but you're still standing strong. You're still standing there. You're still pushing forward with everything.
Okay. All right.
All right. We have time for one more for Carlton. General reading.
Okay. So we're reading for Carlton. It's just a general reading, and our readings may be synchronized. There may be some similarities that they may put together, or they may be on different topics for Carlton. It just depends. I'll go. Carlton, right now you may find yourself, you may feel that you find yourself in what you feel like may be some, kind of, I want to say treacherous waters, but I don't mean that in a negative way, like, oh, so bad, because it feels like kind of deeper waters, kind of like you feel like you may be treading water a little bit, like, oh, kind of almost like I'm treading water, what am I going to do? And sometimes when we splash around even more, we get like even more to where it's like we feel like we may be in a little bit more of a dangerous spot. What I'd like to see you do is just surrender a little bit, because you have everything you need at your disposal right now to be okay in this situation. But the more you flail around, the more it's going to feel like you're in kind of scary waters or in scary territory. You've got this. You are going to come out okay in the situation you're in right now. You're going to rise above it. So just surrender a little bit and let the universe just have your back.
That's good.
Okay. Do you want to go?
Yeah, I kind of got a little bit. You might have some new people coming into your life, Carlton. Maybe even like a more of a relationship type person coming in that you can spend more time with, one-on-one, things like that, opening up for you.
Jay?
Well, I got the Perthrow rune, and Perthrow is what it represents the dice cup. And there's a game called Liar's Dice that many people are familiar with, where each player has a cup full of dice, and you shake them and you turn them down, and then you're trying to figure out what the other players have when you can't actually see their dice. So the point of what this one's talking about is for you to allow yourself to start developing and trusting your other senses for information gathering. And rather than trying to figure this out and try to push your way through to a solution, allow yourself to try to, I'm kind of going with Michelle here about relax and ease back. And it's almost like when you soften your gaze and you look at one of those pictures that's got all the dots on the page, then all of a sudden the picture, the image starts to come through. So allow yourself to use your other sources of information, your intuition, your general feelings about things, input from other people to try and get some clarity on whatever it is that you're working with, rather than trying to push through and figure it out yourself.
Very good.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys, everybody, for listening and for watching. I want to reiterate these great products that we have that are either on Amazon or at Soultopia. All of these learning cards. I personally can speak for these cards. Erica and I have played with the cards. We got out the palmistry cards one night and we were quizzing each other with the cards. I think Erica is much more proficient with those cards than I am. I've used the crystal cards. I love all of the cards that I have used. And I have read both of the books, and I recommend both of these books highly. I also would recommend anybody listening, if you want to sign up, I believe it's going to sell out this year very quickly, the Northwest Tarot Symposium. It's open online now. There's a group on Facebook that you can go to, or to their website. Just Google Northwest Tarot Symposium. And I would highly recommend that for you to attend that. Again, I really think it will sell out this year rather quickly. So
we've got a good lineup coming in this year. We've got Rachel Pollack is going to be the keynote presenter on Friday.
Yes.
Of course, through the weekend, we're going to have about 25 other presenters through the course of the weekend.
Right.
On Monday, Carrie Paris is going to be joining us to work the professional development part of the weekend, which is an add-on day for people who are professional readers, who want to become professional readers, about what are the steps, how do you do that? And so Carrie Paris will be helping us with that part.
Yes.
So yeah, we're pretty much sure that this is going to be the biggest year yet, and it's been going for 5 years, and every year it has jumped up about 15 to 20% in size.
Nice.
It's an incredible event, and so we are so happy that you came on tonight, Jay. And
well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Jay.
And for everybody listening, we just want to tell you that your soul, SoulWhat is all about your soul, that you can decide what works best for your soul. You can listen to what other people have to say and what we offer, and you take what resonates with you, what makes sense to you, what vibes with you, and even if it's just one little kernel of truth, you can take that and take it on board. The rest you can do with what as you please. But if there's one little thing that kind of vibes with you and your soul, then just take it and run with it. And that's what SoulWhat's about.
That's it.
Just exploring different things. And thank you